Right, we're very quiet, aren't we, today?
No, I don't know. Why are we...
Hello!
Right. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of You Don't Need a Hamster.
You need a therapist.
Me and Hannah have returned to talk about a very
Sorry,
important
why are
topic.
the way you were saying that was just like...
I think it was brilliant, to be honest. I don't know
Okay.
what came over me, but I really
Professional.
felt professional then. I'm really obsessed with the fact that we're like filming this for content on my phone, so I can just see myself.
And she's loving it.
And I'm so far away that like I just feel like I look cool.
I'm colouring because
She's too ADHD. Like, sorry, that sounded really ableist.
it's okay. I know what you mean, and she's not actually ableist.
But no, because when we were filming the first episode, she kept getting a little bit distracted looking out the window.
Yeah, whereas I'm much better. I have to do something, and then I can really focus if I do something while talking. Yeah, because I really know myself, because my frontal lobe is formed.
Again, we've not done that episode yet. It's on its way.
Do you think they're pencils or like pens?
I think they're cigarettes.
No, they're not.
But like, it's a kitchen, isn't it? Maybe spices.
It's a kitchen.
No,
I thought it was a desk.
It is a desk.
Yeah.
I just saw the pancakes. The pancakes
are a bit off-putting. There's quite a lot going on here. I'm not really sure what's going on.
Anyway, that's enough about your colouring page. Back to me. No, not really back to me. You can talk, obviously. Sorry.
I know.
I felt like I'd become a dictator then.
Yeah.
Stalin? Who's he? I think you mean...
I don't think we're going to bring up any kind of dictators in this podcast. We are not qualified to talk about dictators. We are qualified, however, to talk about our own lives.
And yeah, we are actually. We didn't include that in the first episode.
I know, I thought that, but I didn't want to, rain on your parade.
No, but that's true. When we say you don't need a hamster, you need a therapist, you may well actually need a therapist. And what I can tell you, fundamentally, me and Hannah
are so unqualified.
Are so unqualified. I've done a safeguarding course.
I've done my level 1 counselling, and to be a qualified counsellor, you have to do it over level 4. So that shows how unqualified we are.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to embark on a mental health first aid course.
I am youth mental health first aid trained, but that was nearly over 3 years ago. I do want to do it, but it's really expensive.
I know, but I've got access to it because on my online training.
Yeah, I thought I was going to send a few.
I can do different courses.
I'm a mentor, so I can. But I'm mentor and peer support. But no, we're not qualified at all. So do not take anything.
Ignore all of the qualifications we've just given you because none of them have made us qualified.
Ignore absolutely everything that ever comes out of our mouths because quite frankly, it's all a load of rubbish.
This is like entertainment purposes only. This is like those. What are the docudramas where you're like, whoa, but you also... It's like The Crown, okay? We're going to... not everything's going to be factually accurate.
Most of it is not going to be factually accurate.
Anyway, do you know what I think we are qualified to talk about, though? As two people who have both actually, in the last 6 months, experienced what one might call burnout.
Yeah. When did I have last burnout? Can't remember.
Like January.
Yeah, but was that burnout? That was actually trauma-induced psychosis. Does that count as burnout? I don't know.
Well,
but yes, I do have burnout a lot. So
anyway,
I am
burnout, trauma-induced psychosis.
No, but they are different things.
Potato.
No,
no, I know they're different. I do
very different.
I know they're very different, but I do believe.
Also, I have had burnout a lot. So regardless.
Yeah, do you see it? Yeah. Anyway. But I do think it makes us qualified to talk about
our own experiences. Yeah. No, definitely.
And that's what today's episode is about. It's about taking a break.
Take a break.
Take a break.
From me.
Run away with us for the summer. Let's go.
What do you think that is?
Keyboard.
Oh.
We could all go stay with our father.
Honestly, David's an icon.
Hannah is in love with my dad.
But not in the way that sounds.
absolutely in the way that sounds.
Absolutely not in the way that sounds.
My dad is an absolute icon.
Me and him, we actually met for the first time, me and David.
And it was the most brilliant experience ever. We were sat around the table. We had family dinner. Hannah,
first ever family dinner.
We are not. We, like, when I tell you, my family is not necessarily a very, like, family dinner. Like, we don't all sit around the dinner table. We do have dinner together, but normally it's in the lounge watching TV. I can't lie.
Oh, so was it very, very special to have it around the table?
Yeah.
You know what? It was giving Friday night dinner.
And it was like, yeah, it was. We had it round both nights that Hannah was round. Anyway, yeah. So Hannah met my dad, and my dad is an icon. He does Pilates, which everyone...
Is that one of the most iconic things that you've ever heard in your entire life?
Everyone loves that he does Pilates, and I find it really sweet that everyone's like... Everyone's like David's biggest supporter.
I know, David has so many fans. Me. Yeah, well, you know.
But, like, I'm his daughter, so I think I can get away with that. Me and David are going on holiday next week.
Where are you going?
7 days. We're going skiing.
Oh, going skiing again. Lovely.
We're not Tories, I promise.
But I think we actually, like, had that conversation in the...
We did.
Basically, it's... You know what's really fun? Is that me and Millie can appear, like... very similar, but we do come from quite different stages of life in many ways,
and different backgrounds.
But I am really well. But you know what? But that's yeah. I'm going to stop there. But that is actually one of my goals in life is to come skiing with you and David when I'm rich.
No, stop it.
I can't afford it. But one day when I'm rich and I marry my sugar daddy.
No, Hannah, because we can make this happen.
Well. I don't think David. David, will you pay for my friend Hannah to come skiing with us? David's going to go. Probably. Millie.
Jill, I think Jill would pay for you to go.
Oh my god!
My god! Oh no! Oh stop! Because yeah, but then the thing is that David would love that, but also it is me and David's bonding time. So
I think we'd bond as a three. I mean, no, I'm not coming this time. Don't worry.
Bond.
But yeah, it is going to happen.
There were family dinners. There were conversations about Thomas the Tank Engine, Fat Controller.
Literally, I think. No, but I actually
Teletubbies and Teletubby babies were main topic of conversation.
Me and David really got on.
Iconic thing.
Me and David really got on, and I think that would be the issue. And I think if we, although to be fair, if we went, because there would be the four of us, because it'd be you, me, David, and Teddy. So you and Teddy could go off, and me and David could go off. So I think it would be fine.
It not like sound that. Like you're trying to become my stepmother.
Well, no, I don't. No, because basically, me and David we just had great conversations about Teletubbies. I do think we should have taken David to Starlight Express last night because, quite frankly, I would love to see David's perspective on that.
We're 16 minutes in. We've not spoken about taking a break yet.
That's amazing. That's literally giving like classic podcast. Anyway, sorry, continue.
You're quite well. Do you know what? I think we're both quite bad at taking breaks. Fully.
Yes. But I've got better.
You're better, and also you have a better like understanding of needing to take breaks.
Yeah. But I am 4 years older than you.
God, do you know what? She wasn't proud of it before.
I'm still not really proud of it. You know what? I was watching a podcast the other day, or listening to a podcast, and it told me that my ovaries were drying up. And I thought, sorry, my ovaries are drying up. I'm 24 years old. My ovaries are drying up. I really hope they are, quite frankly.
My ovaries are on speed, but that's because I've got polycystic ovaries.
So anyway,
lovely. But yeah, no, you've got better. I realise, because I'm quite like I need to be busy kind of person.
Same.
And I know you are too. However,
I'm so bad if I'm not busy.
When I
ask Dave,
had my little...
Not her dad.
Yeah, ask Dave. Her teacher is also called Dave. It's actually quite... Anyway, but yeah, no. When I had my little, what we're going to call wobble in February.
I didn't know we were calling it a wobble. I have feelings about that, but I can't talk about them right now.
Are we not going to call it a wobble?
I mean, I would say it's bigger than a wobble, but you know,
it was.
Who am I to put in words into your mouth?
It was bigger than a wobble. I had essentially what one might describe as
a full-blown mental breakdown.
Yeah, I did. In February.
And then she's Snapchatting me going, I don't actually really like having a mental breakdown. And I'm like, no, babe, no one likes having an actual mental breakdown.
No, I know. It was bad. I think it's actually probably the worst, like, mental health.
Yes.
What I might call crisis I've ever had in my life. That was, and it was, you know, it was scary and it was uncomfortable, but we're not going to talk about that right now. As you can tell, I'm dealing with it really well. Well, we're only a month on.
Have you got a therapist yet? An actual therapist, not a hamster?
No. Jill keeps going, do you want me to help you with that? And I'm like,
yes, Jill, please, can you help her with that? Can you please get her an actual qualified therapist?
Jill's getting a bit fed up with me, I think. Not fed up with. No, she's not. She's not.
No, not in a bad way. But like, also
but I think she's just like, come on, Millie, you need to.
You need.
I don't want to. No, because I technically, because I was on.
Have you looked at like?
I was on Silver Cloud. Have you done Silver Cloud?
Is it paid private therapy?
No.
Then, no, I don't know what Silver Cloud is.
It's NHS, and it's.
Oh, is it like iApp, like talking therapies?
It's like online, and you like have like modules. It's like online training, but for your mental health. And basically,
oh, I think I missed that criteria. I went straight to the psychiatric intensive care unit.
No, I know.
Sectioned.
And obviously, do you know what? I think it would have worked if I wasn't at the stage that I was at, which I hadn't realised I was at the stage that I was at. And then when I did realise I was at the stage that I was at, I then just blanked them. So then they sent me an email the other day going like,
sorry, I didn't
not logged on.
I didn't realise what we were talking about. I felt like I really invalidated you there. I do apologise. But I do feel like you didn't tell me about Silver Cloud. I feel like that's something we do need to talk about at some point. Just especially my role as an advocate. I'm interested. So is this adult like mental health in Bournemouth? They give
no. It was in Guildford because it was before I started doing it before I had my mental breakdown.
In Guildford, you go to the. Did you go to the GP? Sorry, I'm not quizzing you now, but I'm really interested in this.
They have like.
Do you like self-refer?
Yeah.
And then they give you like online learning modules.
Yeah.
To mentally unstable individuals. They're like, right, because you're having a lot going on in life. Would you like to add more workload by doing these modules?
Yeah, but to be fair, they were good. I had a phone call update with her, and she was like, "If it's not working," but then I think I was just in a bit of
not
denial,
in the right place.
And I didn't want to do it, and I was just like, "Yeah." And then I started off with quite good intentions. I did about 3 modules, and then I had a mental breakdown, and then just ignored them because I was just like, absolutely not. But also, what we discovered when I had my mental breakdown, there's a lot of like learning to be done. This is now just an episode about my mental breakdown and David, but it was quite anxiety triggered, which I have never thought of myself as an anxious person. But when I was talking to Hilda, the absolute icon, who was my psychiatric liaison, Christ, we're getting deep, aren't we?
Yeah.
She was like, it does sound like you've had like a anxious break.
Yeah. What was I going to say? No, it's really interesting. And I think, as someone who like obviously really like lived the mental health system, I lived up CAMS, all that.
Yeah.
And like the advice that they used to give, and I used to think like, you've just got no idea, like you're just all chatting rubbish. And I have to be honest, now that my frontal lobe is formed, I can appreciate a lot of their advice, and I can see like, I don't know if they didn't see the modules that they gave you, but I do think that there is a fundamental flaw with our mental health system, is that we are like multiple steps too late in the process. Like those modules probably should be done by everybody, I imagine, or like at least anybody who's not feeling 100% mentally fit. And I think that is where we come into issues, because actually, whereas now, and that's probably why I am better at like taking a break, because like I know myself like so well, and then therefore some of the suggestions that they do have actually do work, but you have to use them a lot earlier or in a different way than like it's then they're not for crisis, but you've got to stop yourself like from getting to crisis, which is hard until you really know yourself. But how are you going to know yourself while you're at the beginning of the journey? Which is where peer support and mentoring comes in.
But anyway, that wasn't no, I think that is true, because I thought like if I was in it, and I didn't realize it at the time. No, when I started doing them, I was just like, I just don't think. But also, for me, as somebody who has been depressed before and has done various interventions and intervention kind of things, reading a module about what is depression, I was like, I know. I do
I've
know.
lived that.
I do
Yeah.
know. And like it was a lot of kind of it was quite basic, basically.
Yeah, but I think
Awkward.
like probably have you looked at like creative therapies?
No.
I mean, which you have to, cause often these days you have to pay for. But I like if I had all the money in the world, I should have had any money. I would, because I had creative mentoring through one of the charities that I worked with, as part of like, which isn't like a therapy to point out. It's a very different thing. But like, it made me realize that if I was to have therapy, because therapy never worked for me, and I've had like literally every single thing thrown at the sun at me, I would look into like art or music or drama therapy, because especially like art therapy, I think that like it for me, because I've kind of done my own art therapy on myself,
Yeah.
obviously without the qualifications and like the actual like embedding, like looking at the problems. I do think that like sometimes, because it can be just really awkward to like sit and just talk at someone about your life, whereas actually I do think expressing it creatively, which is kind of what I do anyway, and like it's an interesting one to look into, and especially because like within like the arts, there's quite a lot of like places that specialize in creative therapies for creative people.
Well, you heard it here first, guys.
Art therapy for the win.
Art therapy for the win.
But
well, I do find that though. Like, I find I do a lot of my processing through like music and shows. I actually spoke about this in my interview the other day.
Yeah. I think it is such a tricky one, and I think especially like because like the point of therapy, I think it depends. It is about like self-awareness, and I think like that is kind of the thing with taking a break, is like learning. And what I've kind of learned quite a lot recently, but I knew it, and I could kind of say it as like an academic lesson, but it wasn't. Like, actually felt it, and then it was like,
I feel this episode might actually turn into you need therapy.
You need therapy, and maybe, you know,
and I think that's not a bad thing. But maybe we do a separate episode on needing a break. And
yeah,
stick
maybe
with the therapy.
Stick with therapy. We're talking about therapy.
Yeah.
Maybe we just talk about a bit about like our own experiences with, like, I mean, I'm back on the waiting list for trauma therapy, which is what I need to have.
Brilliant. Like, come on, guys. Let's get Hannah some
therapy. Yeah, which is just not, because unfortunately I can't afford private therapy. Peak.
I've never paid for private therapy.
No, I'm not talking about you. Gosh, have you seen that?
Well, you went is Silver Cloud private therapy, and you thought I was going to say yes.
Well, no, I did. I can be honest with you. Yeah, because I've never heard of Silver Cloud. So does that not sound like a private therapist? Sound like BetterHelp or whatever? Like,
yeah, to be fair, my mum always signed me up to BetterHelp.
I mean, the thing is, they're right. There was a whole scandal with that, which we can't talk on the podcast. But then a lot of people will promote it. But the only good thing I do think, I don't know, because I've never looked at BetterHelp, but I do. The only like positive thing of like that thing that when they speak about you can change therapists, because I do think that is something that like you do need to like get on. Like, you need not get on. You need to like bond with your therapist. Otherwise, like, that's just. But interestingly, I was listening to another podcast they were talking about therapy, because like it's such an important thing, and like it does not need to be a taboo about therapy. And there's also a difference. Sorry, but there's a difference between therapy and mental health services. Yes. I do think that should be spoken about, because I think that everybody should and can, or not can as in like they can actually have it, but like can have therapy. Whereas I do think that mental health services are a different thing, and I think that is when we look at mental health, and like there's mental health, mental illness, mental well-being, and mental fitness, and I do believe all four things are very separate. And I do think therapy as a concept is something that everybody can benefit from. I do then also think that there are certain people who have mental health problems, and then obviously when you go onto mental illness, like that is where your mental health services come in, because you've got like, I can say that because I've literally been there, done that, still there. But it's like a very different thing. I think there is that confusion. I think that when people talk about like therapy, that like therapy is a different thing to mental health services. because actually, interestingly, having been under mental health services, you can get therapy under mental health services. It's bloody hard work to get it. It is different to like primary and community, and being like it is a different thing, because like therapy is different to having like an organic mental illness.
It's tricky, yeah, and I think that is
a confusion.
And I think the thing, going back to what you were saying about BetterHelp and having the different therapists, because you need to be able to bond and fully trust, and that is also something that in my little journey that I've been having recently, I've realised is that me and my mum were having this conversation, and it's that she is, and it's nothing to do with anyone else, but she is like the only person that I'm fully like open and honest about and can read me really well.
And that's good though, because it's good that you've got someone who can do that.
But it's like she's too close to be able to be my therapist, you know?
No, and actually often like me and like Beverly used to talk about this, and actually like interestingly ours kind of went in lots of different ways, and she does actually listen to this, so I'm to say no more. But my like you do need that step away from, like, I think, because even if you really get on with your family members, you do need that space to be able to like rant even about them, because you really like there isn't a problem with them. But that's just the healthy thing. But it's interesting, what I was going to say about this podcast was the girl, like, she was talking about the fact that, but you also can't like your therapist so much that you want to people please them. If you're a people pleaser, like, it's really important to have, like, you gotta want to do it for yourself. So you can't like them too much, which I thought was not something that I've ever dealt with, because that's not how I work in terms of like people.
No, but I do, and that's the thing, because me and my mum actually had a really in-depth conversation about this, because she was like, you need help, but like, she was like, I don't know, I feel like to be able to get the help that you need, there's work that needs to be done before that stage to be able.
Jill. Me and Jill, honestly, the same wavelength.
Because she was like, the thing is that I know you, and you will tell them what you think they want to hear. And
10 years of mental health services, my friends, 10 years of mental health services, like, and that interestingly for me, and obviously again very different, and not to say that like this is not the same for you, but like, I left mental health services in the end because actually they were hindering my recovery. And that's very, again, different to therapy, very much point. And obviously me and Millie are very different people, and that's not to, and Millie knows when I'm saying this isn't to influence anything that your decision would be,
or anyone
else's. But because actually you've got to be able to be really fucking honest with yourself. And for me, that came from my ADHD medication. I'll be like, I obviously was diagnosed autistic, bit of time, got diagnosed ADHD, started my ADHD medication, and it was while we were at Mount View last year, it was as if, I mean, I had a really horrible experience just before Christmas, and over that, and that was kind of in the midst of me starting my medication. But over that Christmas holidays, you best believe it was literally like someone unzipped me. I was unzipped, and I literally could see, to be so honest, and only then did actually anything work. Because before that, and that's not a fault of mine, like, I was so resistant, and even though I thought I wanted it, like, I would say to people, like, obviously I don't want to feel like this, I want to get better, but actually I didn't really, because I wasn't willing to like take that, which was annoying, because people would tell me that like you don't really want it, like no, I do, you don't understand. And obviously I didn't want to live in that horrible feeling that I felt, but actually I didn't, because I wasn't ready for so many different reasons. And you do have to do your own work first, and then there are questions of like, once you've done that, then you're actually willing, like, an open into like whether it be therapy and stuff. And then like, I think then it's still like really like individual, because I think for me, because I'm so self-aware, apart from maybe trauma therapy, but again, even that, but then it's so individual on that, just because I don't think I necessarily would, because I think that like
But have
I
you
need a different
ever
thing.
had the thing where you feel so self-aware, but then you'll be feeling something, but because you're so, but you can't put your finger on what it is? Because I found this when I was having my little wobble, which we've now established was not a wobble, but I felt horrific, but I could not for the life of me put my finger on exactly why. And I feel like reflecting now I could, but because I'm normally so self-aware and I'm like, oh no, I know it's because of this and this happened and this triggered that. But then being like, you feel so helpless when you're in that moment of like, I feel absolutely horrendous and I have no clue why, and that's so uncomfortable because normally I know everything or not everything, but like I can quite quickly figure out where something's gone wrong.
Like, I think I went through the stage where I thought I was self-aware, but the narrative that I was writing wasn't actually true, because I wasn't able to be honest with myself. And then I went through that stage after that of going like, I don't know why I feel. And then I went through like, I think I might know why, but I don't want to admit to anybody, because I feel like this is like embarrassing, or like the truth is. And then I went through the next stage of like then being able to admit it, but then I went through the stage of going through like periods, which you still have forever, of like it's really bad, and then you think, oh my god, because you know that it'll get better. So like when I was like poorly initially, I would feel awful and horrible and like I wanted to like not be here anymore. But there was a part of me that thought that when people spoke about like it getting better, like I had like the feeling that it would get better. If it got better, it would get better. Whereas when you like years down the line, I realised that it would get better, but that better would then still have periods when it was horrible again. And then I went through that stage of like, sorry, if it's going to end up coming back to this again, because I know that it'll get better, but it will come worse again, then that's even worse. And then I went through the stage of learning that, and that's still like at that now, where you learn that it is, you don't achieve it. It is just actually, it's contentment in the forever it being this like journey ride of, and then when you can slightly accept that, that's when actually the contentment comes. But even then, still now, even though I know, like, literally was crying to Dave the other day, like at Shed, because like it was also horrible, and like I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's just, it feels really grim right now. And luckily he was really good, and he's just like, you know, that he knows that like for me there's nothing that can be said because I have all the tools. There's no answer. I've just got to sit with the horrible feeling, and ultimately it will get better again, and then it'll get worse again, and then it'll get better, and that's just life. And the times that I feel most mentally well and most like mentally fit, and therefore most like resilient, which is like an annoying word, is the time when I am able to go to just accept and not fight against that horrible feeling. And actually it is that thing of when you're feeling really grim, not trying to fight it, because that actually makes it worse. And like I've been doing that now, like because especially evenings are my worst, and I get to the evening and it gets to the evening and I'm like, oh my god, I can't like live. And in the past I would have thought that like in either way, whereas literally I'm just sitting in it, and that initially like the thought of, because the pain is so awful, but actually in sitting in it the pain isn't as bad. And I've, you know, been colouring, watching TV, like just really just not embracing it because that's like too far, but actually I go
just like knowing that that's how you're feeling, and being
then I
like,
do
okay.
go, and then I am able to go to sleep, and I wake up in the morning and it's not as bad.
No, I find that very interesting, because when I went straight back into like normal life,
you didn't have the 5 years of like
I've like very quickly went back into being like, everything's fine, and I'm like back to just functioning as normal. And I wasn't functioning as normal, and there was a lot going on, and I hadn't processed a lot of it. And I remember speaking to Hannah and Hannah being like, because I was like, no, I'm fine. I've come out of it now. And like, and this was literally like,
A week later.
not even that, like 3 to 5 days.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm fine, because I'd come out of the haze of it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a week of haze.
Did I say something profound?
And I came out of it. You said, well, you were just like, right, just be careful with yourself, because you are like a shaken up Coke bottle. You use your shaken up Coke bottle analogy. You're like a shaken up Coke bottle, and you've opened the lid a little bit, and some of the pressure's come out, but you've then screwed the lid back on, and so you've still got all of that bubbling up inside of you. And
so profound.
You were so profound.
And
I remember that, and I kept that with me for like a long time. But I went back to school, because I was still at my drama school at that point. I mean, it was my last week, but I wanted to do a last week to give myself closure, say goodbye to my friends and stuff like that, and just like have a normal week. But then I went into work and worked a show. I was backstage on a show for a whole week, and then was backstage on another show the weekend after, and did not let myself have a break or time to process. And what this was actually meant to be about was the fact that I had a mental breakdown, and then very quickly went back to being like, I'm okay.
And was that when you needed to take a break? And should we tune in for next week, where we will part 2 of this conversation,
when
we talk about taking a break?
Talk about taking a break. Brilliant. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's really, I mean, it's gone wild, hasn't it?
Rogue.
We started on one road, and we've
ended up on a different
one.
And it's a part 2. This is going to be a 2-part episode. How exciting.
Episode, which is really quite thrilling.
Spicy.
Okay.
Catch us next week for
part 2.
Bye.
Bye.